Okay, this quick tutorial is how you would create an exercise storm or a new storm. You would never do this for a operational storm because Hurrtrak Online brings that data down. But we'll just start with a blank slate here. And the first thing you're going to do is come up to File, New Storm, give it a name, and we will give it the Agnes name. Say OK. It will prompt you then for advisory number, and this screen is not the friendliest screen in the world because the system's not really designed to do what you're looking for easily. We'll make it June 6th, 0Z to make it simple. Latitude, I'm going to put it out at 20 north. Longitude, negative, make sure you're negative 70 west. Maximum wind 30, I believe we're in knots. And that's all we really need because our maximum wind is not high enough to give us radii of winds. We can give it pressure, it won't hurt anything. And the eye diameter, eye wall width is fine to leave as that. So let's add that observation, cancel and exit, and there's our Agnes. Now what we don't have is a forecast now. So let's go ahead and come up here and go edit official forecast. We'll make this a little bigger. And it puts in the first lat lon for you at least, and that was miles per hour, so it's 26 knots. We can change the system, the unit of measure, over to knots, and that would maybe make it a little bit simpler. Matter of fact, let's do that. May have to reopen the system, I'm not sure, but unit of measure right there. Let's make it knots. Save changes. And let's come in and edit our observation. 26 miles per hour. We're going to change that to 30 knots. Edit observation right there. Cancel exit. Now let's go into edit official forecast. And yeah, we're good to go here. I'll make this bigger. Now we're going to put in our forecast. And what I'll do is put in the first time. It has to be within 12 hours of the prior time. So this would be 06/06/2015, 12Z. It fills in the rest of them. And then put in the lat lons of where it's headed. So I'm just going to make it real simple. And we're going to make this 30, let's see. We'll keep it at 30 knots for now. 22.5 minus 74 for 24-hour position. Now we're going to make it 40 knots. And this is what I want to show what happens here. If I try to add or edit the forecast now, it's going to complain that I haven't put in these values. So since it's 40 knots, we're going to have to put in a radii of 34 knot winds. And I'm going to make it simple and say 40 miles each. Okay. And it'd be nice if this was expanded out a bit, but when you first put in data, this doesn't reset the widths of these columns, so it's a little bit funky. If I tried to edit the forecast now, well, that's good. It went ahead and made those fields bigger. All right, so a little bit easier to work with now. 48 hours, I'm going to put in 22.9. Well, let's make it further north. 23.8 minus 76, and it's now up to 50 knots. If I try to edit it here, it didn't give me a warning message, so I guess it's being flexible. This is where you could put in your radius of 50 knot winds. And I'm going to go ahead and make that 30, 30, 30, and 30. But you also have to put in the 34 knot wind radii, which will be greater. And we'll go with 50. Obviously, I'm making this simple on myself by not having varying ones. And what I'm doing is editing the forecast as I go. Okay, let's move it up to 24 north minus 78 west, and we'll go up to 60 knots. So we still don't have hurricane force winds. Make this a little bigger, and you can make those different, obviously. So we just made the radius of 50 knot wind's the greatest in the northeast quadrant, which is not unusual. You don't have to put 0 in front of it, just to force a habit. And now we're going to make it a hurricane, even though it might be moving over land. That's okay. 25.6 minus 80.3. We're in South Florida. We're going to make it 70 knots. Whoops, not 770. 70 knots. Now we need to put in the hurricane force radii. Okay, if I try to edit it here, it is not complaining about those other radii, which kind of surprises me. But make sure you put them in. Like I said, I haven't changed this routine in quite a while. And we'll make these bigger. I think it will holler at you if you make these radii incongruent with each other. Now we're going to have it cross Florida, go to 27 north minus 83 west. Maybe it weakens back down to 60 knots, so you don't have hurricane force winds anymore. We'll go back to, we'll leave these the same and make these a little bit larger just for fun. And you don't have to come down and edit every time. I was just doing that. And now we're going to move it a little further along on the 120 hour, minus 85 near the panhandle. Going to increase it up to 90 knots. Now you do have hurricane force winds, so put them in. And we'll make the radii bigger. So it's really not that bad. And here at Edit Forecast, and there you have a forecast which included depression stage, tropical storm stage, and hurricane stage up and down. And you enter all your latitude and longitudes. So if I cancel and exit, hopefully nothing bad happens. I really moved this thing along pretty quickly. Agnes is right there. If I go to full Atlantic, I zoom in, there is that forecast track. Okay? And so if you do things like animate, you'll see it move along slowly here. It takes, what it does the first animation through is builds a animated GIF. So the subsequent animations are much faster. Also, whenever you have locations, well, in this case it's not showing the location distances, so that's not a problem. It's actually because I've got a number of things running on the computer here. So anyway, you see what it's doing. It shows the track. I think I hit the wrong button. We'll stop it there and let it just go through, and you'll see how much faster it is the next time around. And of course, you can zoom in on certain areas to get a better feel for the impact, and it will build the animation as it comes into Florida, the forecast. So it's not that horrible to build the forecast. Like I said, after you've done it once, it's not that hard. And the eye wall appears when you hit hurricane force. Okay. All right, so we'll let that stop and slow it down. You can also do some other things, like there's your average error. Plot the latest forecast track with cone. And you don't define the cone, it's defined by the Hurricane Center. There it is. You can also plot it without the track and just the cone. Let's see. Actually, that's a drop-down option. Let me just undo everything. So if I go plot or display, I'll get there. Let's see, official forecast. I guess that's it. Plot track. Actually, all the official forecasts are done right here through the command bars. The other options here just don't show the forecast track without, or the forecast cone without the track. One other thing, if you want to do a wind band, right up here, you have put in that diameter of wind radii, so you're able to do that also. And the impact to the panhandle being the greatest with that strongest wind. Now, you know, we did the pretty simple track here, so it doesn't look that impressive as far as landfall. But in any case, that's the position, and we actually didn't have it make landfall yet. So anyhow, I've kind of gone off with some other things here, but you will not be able to do things like display the wind probabilities and strike probabilities or the surge probabilities because it doesn't make sense. You can run reports though, so like a location impact report for location group, you'll be able to do that, provided you get that official forecast data entered the way we showed you. You'll be able to do a lot of the functions of the system. And like I said, this is how they used to do it before we had the Hurrtrak online download, so this would have been in the early to mid-90s. So that's really it. If you want to do a next position, you'll have to come in here and do edit observations, add advisory, for example, 2. You can use the template from the prior one. Move it along to, let's say, 12Z, change its position, change its wind. I think I'm doing this right, haven't done it in a while, and hit add observation. Yeah, it gets real funky about that. Okay. If it's complaining about advisory number, just wipe it out and just put in the number. And there's that second advisory. You will have to go in then and edit the official forecast. There's your prior forecast, and here's the forecast now from the next advisory at 12Z. And you'll do the same thing over again. Okay, so hopefully that helps. That's it for this video. Thanks.